For adrenal medulla, as we just saw that it will secrete epinephrine or epinephrine. What about adrenal cortex? Just a review. It's a review from your endocrine system. Adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex will secrete two types of hormone. One is called glucocorticoid. One is called mineralocorticoid. Glucocorticoid, usually it has something to do with regulating the metabolism in general. An example of glucocorticoid is cortisol. Remember, I like to use this example when we are stressed or when people are broken up with their partner. Then they will be under a lot of stress, and they usually consume a lot of sweets or dessert. The reason is that their body secretes cortisol to deal with the stress. And one of the function or the effect of cortisol is that to increase the blood sugar level, either by breaking down or glycogenolysis, or by telling your body simply just eat more sugar. And then mineralocorticoid, the general function is that water and electrolyte balance. An example of the adrenal cortex, the mineralocorticoid, will be called aldosterone. We will learn more about aldosterone at the end of the urinary system. You will see that in the RA pathway, because one of the last R stands for renin. First A is the angiotensin, and then the last A is the aldosterone. So you see how they work together to conserve, or you may call it conserve water, or reduce the water secretion as urine. So what are the functions of cortisol? Well, as I said that when we are stressed, our body will secrete cortisol to help us to fight the stress. When we fight the stress, we need a lot of sugar. Why? Because sugar, as you know, that will go through the cellular respiration to make more ATP energy. We need more energy to deal with stress. Well, that is a very reasonable and logical conclusion. So how do we get more glucose? Well, we can get more glucose by, of course, gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis, where's the location? Do you remember the post-absorptive state video? Gluconeogenesis occurs in liver. And then we can can increase the glucose in the body by inhibiting glucose reuptake transporter location muscle. And then think about this gluconeogenesis. What can be used for gluconeogenesis? Of course, amino acid, it will become ketone acid. Ketone acid can be converted into glucose. So cortisol can also increase the protein breakdown. Protein breakdown into amino acid, and it also occurs in muscle. And last but not least, as you remember, gluconeogenesis. One of the three pathways of the gluconeogenesis is from glycerol. Glycerol can be converted into glucose by gluconeogenesis occurring in liver. So in order to get get more glycerol, we need to break down from fat or lipid from the adipose tissue. So breaking down fat from the adipose tissue will give us more fatty acid and glycerol. And then we can use the glycerol in the liver for gluconeogenesis to make more sugar. So lipolysis, which is in the adipose tissue, so may I ask, is cortisol a form of anabolic hormone or catabolic hormone? Cortisol, is this anabolic or catabolic? Well, as you can see, the breakdown, lysis, these are the, it already tells you, it implies something, it is a catabolic hormone. Gluconeogenesis, it is the making of sugar from other molecule, but it also it is downstream from the protein breakdown and lipolysis. In other words, it is also overall in general cortisol. You may consider it as a catabolic hormone. And do you think cortisol is a post-absorptive state hormone or absorptive state hormone? Meaning that will your body secrete cortisol after you eat or when you are starving? Well, as you can see that if we need to break down protein, break down lipid, of course we are starving. So cortisol is a post-absorptive state hormone. Function of growth hormone is, well, I would say less clear-cut. We know that insulin is an absorptive state hormone. It is an anabolic hormone. Cortisol is the opposite, post-absorptive state hormone and catabolic hormone. But growth hormone is kind of in between. It's kind of vague. We can see from the function of it. You know what I mean. It has four functions. It decreases insulin-dependent glucose transporter. location, muscle and fat. So what it means is that in muscle and fat, we have special types of transporter. When we have insulin secreted to the transporter, then the transporter will transfer glucose from the blood into muscle cell or adipose cell, adipose tissue. In other words, this transporter decreases the blood glucose level by causing the muscle cell and the adipose cell to absorb glucose into the cytoplasm. And the growth hormone will decrease the activity, will decrease the expression of this transporter, meaning that it will have a so-called glucose-sparing effect. You will have more glucose in the blood. So the growth hormone will causes more glucose in the blood by decreasing the expression of this type of transporter. Well, the reason is obvious. Why? The reason is obvious because when we grow, growth hormone often will stimulate growth. We want more sugar. Why do we want more sugar? Sugar can make ATP. We need more energy to grow. That is also a very logical conclusion. We need more energy to grow. Therefore, it will decrease the expression of this type of insulin-dependent glucose transporter in order to increase the blood glucose level. And then it will increase lipolysis. This is also logical because lipolysis is the breaking down of body fat into glycerol and fatty acid. And fatty acid, we can use it directly as a fuel to produce energy. Glycerol can be transported into liver and then go into one of the pathway of gluconeogenesis. Glycerol can then be converted into glucose to produce energy. So of course, this also makes sense. Increased amino acid uptake is also logical. Why? Because when we absorb more amino acid, then the body cell can use the amino acid as the building block to build more protein. Because we want to grow, right? When we want to grow, we want to build more protein. But the first thing is that we want to absorb amino acid into different body cells. Of course, number 4 is basically the same as number 3. Protein synthesis. We want to make more protein. Well, body growth requires lots of protein. For example, you need more enzyme to speed up a lot of reactions so that your body can grow. All these, as you can see that the same two questions. Is it anabolic or catabolic hormone? Well, take a look. Lipolysis is catabolic. Protein synthesis is anabolic. These two, amino acid uptake and decrease the transporter, these two, they're kind of neutral. So number 2 and number 4, they are against each other. Is it a post-absorptive or absorptive? You can see that these two suggest it is absorptive because after you eat, then you have more amino acid, and after you eat, you can also make protein. But lipolysis is a post-absorptive process. And And this one is also, it is not in the decrease the insulin-dependent glucose, increase glucose. This one increase glucose level. This is the post-absorptive to increase the glucose level. So also it's a mix. How do we decide whether growth hormone is catabolic or anabolic? Well, in general, okay, because the function of growth hormone is to induce body growth. So since it is growing, then we can subjectively assume that growth hormone is an anabolic hormone. Because anabolic is like building up. Regarding whether it is absorptive or post-absorptive hormone, that I'm not sure. That I don't know. So in next video, we'll talk about diabetes. There are two types of diabetes.